Tax season is over, and I'm so excited to start talking about something other than taxes on this channel. But I want to share with you my thoughts on how this tax season went. Something I learned about myself is that I really need to take time to reflect on things after the fact. It helps me to just process everything that happened and really close the book on certain chapters so that I can move forward with fresh eyes instead of lingering thoughts on what just happened. So I took a solid hour to just go through all of my thoughts on everything that happened this tax season, what went well, what could have gone better, and ideas for next year. So I figured, why not share that with the entire world, or at least the 30 people who actually watch these videos. So the first thing I wrote down that went well is something a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, and it is the fact that we charged upfront this year for tax prep. So last year what we did was we gave the option you could either pay upfront or you could pay upon completion. If you chose to pay up front, then your increase in fee from the prior year was a little bit less than it would have been if you had paid upon completion. And about 50% of our clients chose to pay up front and the other 50% chose to pay upon completion. And while that was good, it still didn't allow us to plan the year. I had no idea until October 15th, the last day to file an extended tax return, exactly how many tax returns we would be doing. We had clients still signing up in August, September, and even October for services, and so we just didn't know. And one of the reasons for that is because even if you hadn't signed an engagement letter or anything with us, we filed an extension for you anyway, just in case if you were coming back. Processing and filing extensions is a time-consuming process. So this year, another change that we made was we would only file an extension for our clients if they were clients, if they signed an engagement letter and paid for their tax prep. Now, to compensate for the change this year and making everybody pay upfront before the April 15th deadline, is that we spread payments out from January to April. So if you sign up in January, then your payments were spread out January, February, March, and April evenly. If you sign up in February, they were spread out between February and April and so on. Now, I probably actually wouldn't do that again. I think next year we will just move towards everyone paying 100% upfront when they sign. The reason is I actually had a lot of clients reach out and say, hey, I know this is spread out. Thank you for that. But can we just pay the whole thing? I don't want to have to think about how many payments we have left or make sure that the money's in the bank to draft whenever it gets drafted. We'd rather just pay the whole thing up front. And I had other clients who thought that they had drafted the whole thing up front and they didn't understand why they were being billed again. So it actually created some confusion. And one of the things we never want to do is confuse our clients. We want everything to be very, very clear. Regardless, having clients pay upfront and only filing an extension if we have an engagement letter signed means that by April 15th, unless if we pick up new clients the rest of the year, which we always do anyway, then I know the exact number of tax returns that we're going to file are at a minimum this many tax returns. And that's actually a really big benefit to the clients because what that means is we can invest in the resources, the people, the labor, the technology, whatever it is that we need to make sure that we can handle the tax returns that we're doing. Whenever we don't know what that number is and it's ambiguous, we're kind of operating on assumptions and guesses. And as accountants, we're going to play it safe. We might not overstaff and then end up being understaffed. Or we might set up just buffers and margins around how we communicate and how we spend our time with assumptions that are incorrect because we just don't know how many tax returns we're going to be doing. So if we can know how many tax returns we're doing for the year and what that looks like and even be paid up front for those, then we can invest in the resources that we need to make sure that our clients who we're doing tax returns for get the support that they need all year long instead of us scrambling to make sure that everything gets done the way it needs to get done. Another thing we did that went well is for clients that had entities like an S Corp or a partnership that we didn't do the bookkeeping for. In the past, we would get those tax returns and as part of the tax prep process, we would review the books and we would do any kind of adjustments that were needed in order to get them ready to do a tax return. And sometimes those adjustments are a lot. Sometimes the bookkeeping just isn't that good. And so we have to do a lot of work to get the books ready for tax returns. So to make sure that we were allocating enough time to get everything cleaned up and ready for taxes, we broke things out into two separate pieces of the engagement. On one hand, yes, we're going to prepare your tax return. But before that, we're going to do a bookkeeping cleanup process or a cleanup service where we're going to actually clean your books up, make sure that they're ready for taxes, even if all that means is we're going to review over things that still takes time from the process. And so by just knowing that that was going to be happening and planning for it, it made the preparation of taxes way more predictable so that we knew what to expect and we knew the timeline of what to expect. Which brings me to the next thing that went really, really well this tax season. And it was my favorite part, which was that we scheduled tax return preparation. What that means is we know about how long it will take to do every tax return. We estimate that on the front end of the process. Then from there, we can say, well, if it takes this long to do a tax return and we know we have this many hours within a week, I can tell you how many tax returns we can do in that week. So if you submit your information on, say, February 15th, we can say on that day, hey, looks like this tax return is going to get started on, I don't know, the week of February 23rd. And so on that week, we're going to start asking you for more information. We're going to start digging into things. Until then, if you have any more information for us, just send it in. Otherwise, we won't be hearing from us until then. That was good on so many different levels. It helped set the expectation with our clients, because a lot of times you'll submit information and like, you don't know, have we started your tax return yet? Have we finished it? Or are we waiting on you? Are you waiting on us? Like, what's the process? So to know that like you won't even be hearing from us until this date helps to kind of ease that anxiety. And then for us, it just helps us to know that we can just move systematically through things. We don't have to necessarily rush just to get it done within a certain number of days after you submitted it, because I'd much rather be thorough and do things right than be super fast. So scheduling was huge. Scheduling was like my favorite thing that we did this year. The next thing that went well is just our team in general. Our team has grown. We now have a full-time bookkeeper. We have another employee who was doing some bookkeeping, who now has been doing some preparation on taxes. Ben has been reviewing some tax returns and preparing some tax returns. I'm still reviewing every tax return from a high level and sometimes from a detail level, but since our team is growing and each team member themselves has grown, we are able to be more efficient with our time, and we're able to offer even better services for our clients. And so I'm just super proud of everything that we've done. We did a really, really good job this year of communication. And we say this constantly within the team and to our clients, is that it is almost, if not more important, for us to communicate well than it is for us to do good work. Now, we do good work. Like, we take a lot of pride in the work that we do and the quality of our work. But it's almost a bigger value to our clients that we communicate it than that we actually do it, if that makes sense. Because it really doesn't matter how good the work is if you're still not certain that your tax return was prepared correctly, or if you're still in the dark about the process or how it works or what to do next, then it's still not giving you value. So we're constantly looking for new ways to communicate more often, to communicate more clearly in a more efficient way. And I think we've every single year done a much better job of that. So I'm really, really proud of that. Now, what could have gone better? Because I know we're not perfect and we're constantly looking for ways to improve. One of the biggest things is our turnaround time. That has always been an issue for us. And one of the main reasons is because I will not just let something come in and go out without having a detailed review of every single number. And I still refuse to sacrifice quality for speed. So we're just looking for ways to get faster at what we do without sacrificing quality. I don't know if that means hiring another tax preparer or another reviewer, or if it's getting some sort of technology to make things more efficient. But right now, our average turnaround time from the point that somebody actually like submits their information to the point that it's out the door seems to be right about 4 weeks, which is just too long. I'd much rather that be 2 to maybe 3 weeks. 2 weeks to me would be ideal. That should give enough time for us to be able to review over everything. We just have to be able to manage the influx of information, because some weeks we got like 30 different clients' things in the door. And when that happens, then that creates those bottlenecks. So we need to figure out that part of it. I know a lot of times the bottleneck was me. Ben was really good about just consistently getting tax returns out week after week after week. I was the one who was constantly having to play catch up on reviewing tax returns. And so I think I'm the problem. If I had to guess, then maybe the solution is having another preparer on board so that Ben can do a level of review before I see it. And then whenever I'm looking at the tax return, it's a higher level of review to just make sure that everything's in the right place and that we've considered all the different planning opportunities. And the other thing is just that I think there's too many places right now for clients to upload information. We use one service for uploading your stuff for taxes, and then we have a totally separate portal for communications, and they both serve a good purpose. And I want to keep using both of them, but I just need to have a better way of integrating those and communicating those, because I don't like the workflow to be too messy for the clients. All in all, it was a really good tax season. I can't complain. I think things went well. I'm looking forward this summer. The team and I are going to be getting together, go through how to make things better, more efficient, more streamlined, and just overall better for you or for their clients. But I do have a question for you. If you could put it in the comments, what is the number one most important thing you look for in a CPA or a relationship with the CPA? What's your just non-negotiable, you gotta have this, or you wish you had this type of thing with your relationship with your CPA? That's helpful for me to be able to figure out what it is that you want so that we can build our business around that, because it is all about you. Thanks for listening. Glad you're here. I'll see you next time.